So let's move forward with the last talk. So Jason, aka Teflon Dude, is joining us from Canada. Will demonstrate how to use N10 to increase the efficiency and accuracy of data ingestion and how to distribute data automatically among the systems. Take it away, Jason.
Thanks, Arshil. Welcome, everybody, and thanks for joining us again today. So I guess maybe to start the whole conversation off, I'm going to maybe explain a little bit by what I mean about swivel chair. So this is a term, I don't know if it's North American specific or even just specific to my house, but there's been some confusion around that. So when I'm talking about swivel chair, I'm typically talking about when you are jumping from application to application to kind of get a process done. So you may have one application and you're working over here on this screen, and then you got to copy some information, copy that over into another screen, paste that into there, then you get some information from there and put it into another one. And it's just this long, boring, arduous process. And using N8N is a fantastic way to eliminate some of that swivel chair. So what I've done is I've actually created on purpose a relatively common type of a personal flow that you would have to follow in order to get a task done. And I've recorded doing that whole task because it actually takes much longer than I would want to force you guys to sit through. And so I'll kind of run you through the task and the video. And then I'll show you how I've automated all of those tasks using N8N with a workflow and taken that task from the manual task that it was to a simple entry of information into an N8N system. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen, if I can even remember how to share my screen. Too many screens here. There we go. So I'm assuming everybody can see my screen now. So this here is kind of the overview of the workflow. So what we have is an individual, you receive a client's name. You have to go look up the client's file. So you have to find it amongst a bunch of files. Figure out what city they are located in based on that file name. Then you need to take that city name and look up an agent in an Excel spreadsheet so that you can take that agent information, find their agent number, do a request, an appointment request for that agent so they can set up a meeting. You need to record the appointment in the database, and then you have to email out the client. So I'm just going to kind of walk through very quickly here. Like I said, I've recorded it, and you can see at the bottom, here's our timer showing how long it takes. And so we're already into the first step of the process. And they've put the person's name in. And now we've got to find it in this whole list of PDFs, which, as you can see, I've actually used a little trick where I can do a review of what's in the file, so I don't actually have to open up the file. But we're literally working through like 100 different files to find the right person. So we've had to actually go and see if we can get that person. We'll speed this along a little bit. Oh, looks like we actually found the person. There it is, Victor Heap. So now that we've found who that person is, I'm just going to jump ahead here. We got to get their city. So we're already almost a minute into this process that's manual. So we're going to copy that over. And we're going to jump into yet another system. And we've got to cross-reference their city. So now we've got the city. Now we've got to find out the agent reference number, which is stored in an Excel spreadsheet. So now we've got this Excel spreadsheet of all these rows. You got to filter through it, try and find the right city. And again, there's nothing here that isn't a process that somebody hasn't run into before. We've all done this type of stuff. So we're getting in further in here. So we're going to keep moving ahead. So there we go. We got the agent's reference number. Now we've submitted it to the web page, and we've got the reference number for the meeting set up. So now we can go, and let's keep moving ahead here, grab that reference number, and we can move on to the next step. Let me speed us along here. So now we've started entering this information into, we're using base row here, entering that information in to the base row session. That allows us to record that data. And we're just going to keep moving along. So now we've got the agent reference number, we've got the reference number for the meeting, and then we have to go back again and find the name of the person, Victor Heap. That's who we're setting this meeting up for, and we put that into the database. So there you go. So now we've got this running in the database. So we're already 2.5 minutes into this process. Next, we got to set up the email. So you got to go in, you got to write the email, you got to find their email address. So here it is again, jumping back and forth. Once we find their email address, we can put it in there. We can throw in the subject name, we type it in. And I've even made this faster. I've already tried to optimize it a little bit by having a template built out. So here's the template that we're going to use. And we're going to take that template, we'll copy it, and tweak it a little bit, paste it in, and then we've got to find all the different variables. So we've got client there, agent phone number, so on. So like we're almost 5 minutes into this process. As you can see, it's boring watching it and fast forward, let alone trying to do it manually. So we get that all done, we grab all the right information again, paste it all in, and we'll speed us up here a bit. And there we get to the final email, which gets sent off, and then from there we're done. So we go back, and so we're at about just over 7 minutes here for this entire process. So that's not an insignificant amount of time. So what I did is I jumped and I built a workflow. So every single one of the things that you saw within that presentation is represented here in this workflow. So for example, where we have to look things up in the file folders, well, that's represented here by this piece of the workflow. We have to go look into the the Excel spreadsheet. That's all in here. This piece here will actually take the information and submit it automatically and grab the reference number from the web page, update the base row, create the email, and send it out. And if we go back to our video, and because this one is so short, we can almost do this in real time. We're going to grab the person's name again that we have to do this for, paste it into the web interface that I created. This is all in N8N. You hit submit, and so we're about 15, 16 seconds in. So there's a little bit of work that's happening in the background. It takes a little bit for it to process. And we're done, 20 seconds. So what was a 7-minute process now got converted down into about 20 seconds of effort. And there you go, there's the proof that the stuff actually all went out. So this is something that I want you to start thinking about. And I'm going to stop sharing here. I want you to start thinking about for when you're working with your own business, working with your employer, if you do consulting, this is something to start focusing on. So anytime you get these types of processes that are relatively drawn out, they're all fairly manual, take a look and see, are there ways that you can put N8N in to replace the whole process, or maybe even replace a part of it? And this would make people's jobs so much easier. So now we've got a process that was taking 7 minutes. Well, if you have to do that 100 times a day, you go from 700 minutes a day down to about 30 minutes a day to do all of that work, and there's a significant time saving. Those are the types of things that people really like to see, and that employers will look at this and go, hey, that is the type of employee I want to keep on. So there's some real advantage to that. Anyway, if you have questions, more than happy to answer them.